Hey y'all, just want to take a quick moment and thank our newest patron of the show, Doug Chris. Thanks so much for pledging to the show, and it's very much appreciated. Also, I'd like to thank some of our other supporters, Brett Alexander, Co Schneider, and Michael Newman. Thanks so much. If you would like to be a supporter of the show, you can click on the link in the show notes, either at through Patreon or through Podbean, and it would be very much appreciated. It helps me keep producing this content, and I'm just so thankful that you guys have come aboard and helped me do what I do. So thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this newest episode, and thanks for being a whirly bird. Welcome to the Clifton Worley Show. This week we have Paul Pennington from the Flippin Flippers. What's up, Paul?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I heard that you can get down to some Nas Old Town Road pretty good.
Heck yeah, man. My freaking kids, they freaking love that crap. Now, they don't listen to the regular one that much. They love Kids Bop, so, like, they literally listen to that. I mean, we probably listen to that 10 times a day. And my daughter, she's hilarious. She's like, put it on my Spotify. And just, like, with, like, just, like, such sass.
Yeah. My kids were kind of into that briefly. There's one called the, Cowboy Boogie or something like that. I might be saying the wrong name. It's this guy, and, like, he's a rapper, but he's got, like, this country sound, and it kind of, like, followed in the vein of that. And there's, like, this whole line dance thing he did with it. So it's been getting some airplay. I thought it was going to be, way bigger than it has been.
Well, Billy Ray sold that other one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all Billy Ray. You know what I mean? Like, he's the big name, obviously. Because it's crazy. Like, I was messing around, and if you go to Billy Ray Cyrus, the number one hit is Old Town Road, which is just, like, mind-boggling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that on Spotify, that's the most listened to song by Billy Ray Cyrus is Old Town Road, which is not his song.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things when you've been sitting kind of dormant for a while, and you come back and you have a big hit,
Totally.
hit like that. It's kind of helps get you back in the forefront.
Right. And I mean, he's obviously had a lengthy career with, like, Hannah Montana and, like, riding the coattails of his daughter for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's doing just fine for himself. But his voice, man, I would like to hear, like, him sing. Like, he's always kind of had that kind of raspier voice.
Uh-huh.
Even, like, an Achy Breaky Heart. Like, we listened to it the other day just to, like, mess with the kids. And, like, you could still hear a little bit of that raspiness. But his voice sounds incredible now. I could listen to a whole album of him. Like, just make him sing, like, Chris Christopherson or, like, Johnny Cash or, like, old stuff. I'd be 100% on board.
Yeah, I would be too. That's interesting. I never had thought of him in that light, but I think he could kill it if he came out with an album like The Standards, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and he'd make money.
Yeah, yeah.
He'd be making good money.
So Billy Ray, do it, man. I know you're listening.
He's listening. He is definitely listening. And you know what? Just feel free to write out some checks, to Clifton Worley and Paul Pennington, and we'll just, DM us. We'll send you our address.
That's it. Well, how you been doing, man?
I'm good. Life's good. Life's very different than last time I was on the show, but that's okay. It's different, but it's good. So, kids are good. Still got 3 kids. They're nuts. I got twins, man. Let me tell you, twins, 1 star, would not recommend.
Yeah. Um, well, you were telling me you guys just got back from Niagara Falls. How was that?
It was tough. Well, I mean, it's fine. We had a good time, but you know, our kids are we have a 4-year-old and 3-year-old twins, and so you know, you do an event and then it ends in crying. Then you do
Yeah,
another event and it ends in crying. You know, and that's just the way it is. Then you drive home, ends in crying. You know, and when you have kids that are say like your case, you know, they're split apart what like a year or two
yeah,
each. You know,
yeah,
you get this like one kind of becomes the manager, and then the one underneath is like assistant manager, and the one under that is an employee, and the one under that is a baby. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, and so you kind of get these like, hey, until you get to the bottom, and they kind of correct yourself. But when they're, I mean, my oldest is only 14 months older than the twins, so it's like she's still you know, a preschooler too, you know, and it's hard, she's so smart, it's hard to remember that she's a preschooler because she has these like, you know, she's just like really really intelligent, which everybody thinks their kid's smart. No, this one is smart. You know, the other two are just normal, thank God, but this one's smart. And so you forget that she's gonna be 5 next year. You think, oh, she's 7 or 8, you know.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like if you could read a little bit better, you would think you're 7 or 8.
yeah.
And so it's hard when she has like a 4-year-old meltdown over crackers in the car, and you're driving, you know, 70 miles an hour down the road, and you're like, we can't do anything about crackers or the fact that your seatbelt's too tight. Just wait a minute, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. It's tough. Like, I think I know I don't know if you face this, but like when we're out in public, like it's like people approach us and are like, "Oh, we don't know how you do it," and it's like, "Well, we don't either, but we
Yeah,
do."
you
Yeah,
don't hear us. You don't hear us at home when I'm screaming at
yeah,
them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, because you would come to my house and be like, "Oh, I get it. He doesn't really do it well. Got it."
yeah. You
Yeah, I was just
fake it till
talking
you
with
make
somebody
it.
about that. Yep, I was just talking to Will who's a listener to your show too, and he was saying, he's like, none of us know what the heck we're doing, and it's like, yep, you're right. Just do the best you can.
Yeah, 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 for real. Well, so you just got back on this trip. You've been putting out, all these Flippin' Flipper episodes, which, man, you guys are killing it lately. Like the especially like the pre-show work and everything. Like I've been really
Oh
enjoying
man,
that.
Co's
Like,
killing it.
yeah,
That's
stepping up the game.
that is all Co. You know, he honestly, like, he had this idea of like, he's like, I want to put snippets of like the show in the intro. I'm like, do it, man, just do it. And he's been straight killing it. And like I will listen. I don't like listening to my voice. Some people are like that. They like to hear it, but like I like to see how it went and see how I can like improve. Or, you know, oh, my sound like one week wasn't good, and I'm like, oh, I need to, how do we fix that? You know, those things I want to improve. So I do listen. And sometimes it's funny to hear like Co say something that I wasn't 100% paying attention because I was trying to, you know, figure out what the heck I wanted to say about the next thing or whatever. So sometimes I miss some things, and they're like, oh, that's really funny, you know. But yeah, he's been setting that up, and man, I turned that on this week and I was freaking dying. I was like, oh man, I was joking around singing Old Town Road, and then he freaking sampled it and put it in the intro, and I was dying. It was so funny.
He should have like thrown some auto tune on that and really.
Oh, it was bad because I was like sick and messing around, but it like because I sing it all the time in the car, and like I try to nail it in that old raspy voice,
Yeah.
and like I could have done it, but also like I recorded at 9 o'clock at night and couldn't wake up the whole house, you know. But yeah, some autotune would have been better. Yeah, it would have been better. So basically, Clifton brought me on here to tell me I suck at singing. So there's that.
Ultimate roast episode. No,
Too funny.
so I know like we've been kind of ironing out. You guys are gonna both be at Winter Nam, and
Yep. Yeah, we'll all be staying
yeah,
together.
we're
It's gonna
staying
be a
together in
blast.
Airbnb somewhere. I don't even know the name of the town, but
It's basically like it's within walking distance of, it's in Anaheim basically.
okay, yeah,
That's the best I gathered.
yeah. So it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And you guys are doing the pancake breakfast again, right?
Yes, we are gonna do that. I don't know what our budget is this time around. I really gotta get hustling with builders to see if we have some donations and stuff. But last year, like I had some people my mother specifically gave me like, quite a bit of cash to just put this thing on because she thought it was like a great cause. And that was like, she's like, this is my donation, put this thing on. And it was super cool, but I can't expect that again. So, yeah, we had got the venue like last minute because the venue like crapped out on us, like, because we were going to have it where we were staying last year, but like that crapped out on us. So then we lost our venue for like the breakfast.
Yeah.
And so it was like very, very strange. And I think my mom felt bad and was like, here's money to like get, like a new venue and like, get whatever you need. And it was super cool. And we had a great time. But this time I'm like hoping that we don't need a lot of money to put it on. You know what I mean? Like we just need to show up.
Yeah.
So that's our plan.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be good. I think it's like everybody's kind of looking forward to these little different events, like, and I mean you could literally go to Winter Now and hit all of these things, this day I'm gonna do this and this day I'm gonna do this and whatever, and like you kind of especially in the podcaster community that we're part of, it's kind of, I don't know, for me it's something I look forward to.
Oh yeah, that's the reason for going. I invited a friend of mine to come, and I was like, "Hey man, like he plays bass, like he's not into gear, but he plays bass and he has a few pedals and he is interested every once in a while in new gear, I was like, "Hey, this might sound crazy. You want to go to like NAMM?" And he's like, "No." I was like trying to explain. I was like, "Yeah, no, I understand. Like I get it. There's like not a lot to see there if you just like to play the bass that you have, and I was like, but the parties are super fun, like the taco party and then like the the bowling party and that Earthquaker puts on and like, and then the pancake breakfast and then whatever else there's a ton of stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's not worth flying out there for." I'm like, "Incorrect." I'm like, "I'll fly out to California to get tacos."
Yeah, well, it truly becomes like you're living up to the name, the Coast to Coast podcast, where you're flying back and forth literally from coast to coast.
Yeah, I mean, Co needs to get over here, so then at least like we can make that happen as one, but yeah, no, it's interesting. I understand the vibe there because I grew up there and I lived there till I was about 13, like 12, 13. I think I moved here as 12. And so I understand it's weird. People always say like people from the West Coast are like, "Yeah, you don't like seem like every New Yorker I've ever met, but you like talk like them." And then every New Yorker is like, "Yeah, you don't act like New Yorkers and you don't really talk like us." But yeah, like it's funny. Like I don't really fit in because I'm like this meld of two different places, but the only thing I picked up is I speak kind of fast, and that was noted in many corporations that I worked at. They're like, "You talk too fast." I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a culture shock for me going, especially the first few times. But I really dig it out there.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like a second home to kind of becoming a second home for me. But I don't know if you faced this being an East Coaster, but like when you're from the South, and I've done this like when I've gone up north or gone out west. It's like I'm such an anomaly because of the way I speak, and
Right.
and it's like people kind of like do a double take, and it's like, no, there's nothing that special about this. This is me, But I don't know. So I think it's kind of like I'm the novelty act or something. Um, with the way I talk.
Well, I think too, like you have this like way about you that people like gravitate towards because it's like this, like if you're from like the East Coast, you have like this, you're kind of high strung and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just like you're kind of like busy, and then if you're from like the West Coast, you're kind of like, nah, it's cool, like whatever. But like yours is just so like laid back and so like I was talking about it, I think in our in the regular episode I just recorded that like you should listen to your show like when you're like high strung, because your voice like brings me down. You know what I mean? Like it like just relax. It's like you should read books on tape or something, just because it's like relaxing. You know, and I think people gravitate towards that. I think, you know, you get into these. You've had a lot of like artists and people on that I don't think I would ever even be able to approach, but you're just like, yeah, I'm Clifton, and you talk nice to them. They're like, yeah, I'd like to do that, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I don't know. I never thought I'd be a podcasting, but had a wild hair one day, and dang it if it didn't, um, kind of catch on a little bit. I mean, at least to a few friends. So it's
Yeah, I
fun.
mean, no, you have listeners. Yeah, I mean, same thing with us. You know, I've
Yeah,
been doing this. I don't know. We started about shortly after the same time. I don't remember who started first
yeah,
or whatever, but I remember there was like three of us. You know, there was what Newtown Gear Nerds, right? Is that what it?
yeah, yeah.
Um, Vanen had like it was like the three of us kind of started at the same time, and it was like we've stuck it out. Yeah, we still have listeners, and whether you know if we don't put out content, somebody's gonna yell at us, and that's like a good sign. You know, I don't. There's 5 people listening, or 100 people listening, or 400 people listening. Like it's great either way. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I loved. I think it was New Tone, and then you guys came
New
along.
Tone Gear Nerds, right? That's what it was,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
and then you guys came along, and then I was a good bit after that. I know it was like February of, gosh, 2 years ago, something like that when I did.
Jeez, you have months down. I have no idea. I have no idea how long ago we started. You could have told me I started
The
like
only
last
the
year.
only
I'd be like,
reason I
okay.
remember this, the only reason I remember this is my daughter, our youngest daughter, was born the week that I launched the first episode. Like I literally,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so I'll never forget, doing that.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. I know that we talked about the twins a lot. I think I'd gotten Eliza because we got
Uh huh.
those you don't know we got them from adoption. We did foster care, and we had gotten Eliza, and I'd already started the podcast, and then we got the twins, but they weren't like home yet, and so I remember talking about that like in our first few episodes, and so I know it was around then, so it would have been 3 years ago, because the twins are three now, but I had never really put a stamp on that, I guess, thinking about it that way, that I'm like, crap, I've been doing this for 3 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, you picked a great time to start a podcast in the middle of crazy life, right?
I don't remember any of it. I was just talking to my wife about this because like I used to have a photographic memory. Like I remembered everything, every detail. Like I'd walk in a room. Like people used to like we used to do these exercises. I used to work for Zoomies, the skateboard and snowboard shop, and they would do these exercises. Like memorization stuff, and I could just memorize all of it, like just instantly. And I remember one time they had all this like snowboard gear on like the table, right? And they put a towel or table or a tablecloth or a sheet over it, and then they like pulled it out, and then like you got like a minute to look at it. This the memorization game, and then they covered it back up, and then you had to like find every item like in the store and bring it to them, and it was like a relay thing. Well, like I could do every single one. I just memorized it. But after the twins, my brain doesn't work the same way because we didn't sleep for a year, like literally didn't sleep for a
Yeah.
year, like, and so my brain is just like normal now, and I'm okay with that. But it is weird to not have this like, it's not a super memory. Like I don't want to say I'm super smart. It's just the way my brain used to collect like all the information. I don't have that anymore. So like I'm like, yeah, we were there, right? Like I just can't remember like I used to. But I'm still very visual, like, we were watching a movie the other day, and I'm like, holy crap, I think that's where we stayed for Nam. And it literally, I looked it up, and it was recorded. The movie was filmed in that area, that little block, as we walked to the beach at
Oh,
Nam.
in
And I was
Newport
like,
Beach.
that's crazy.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Newport Beach. It was, yeah, I was like, holy crap. But I recognized it right away. So I'm still a very visual person, but my brain is not the same at all.
Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting ride, and I for one, like with you guys show, of course, Co's been on it now for almost 2 years, I think.
2 years, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We only did it for a year with Esteban, which is, I miss that guy. I talk to him regularly, so it's not anything weird. But it was a great time, and we just became something different. And Co's been fantastic. So
Yeah. Well, you guys kind of have been an encouragement, I think, and I always point people like who start saying, "Oh, I can't afford this gear" or anything like that. Like, go listen to Flippin Flippers because those guys uh, are very creative about coming up with a way to. I mean, I see it as like how to flip stuff to get what you want. I mean, that's kind of like
right,
the ultimate um musician thing is we're always challenged with how do we get that really cool gear that we're always you know um dreaming about and be able to make that into reality. And just your kind of thing about that is how you've done it at such a like bigger level than most people do. So if you're listening to this show and you're not listening to Flippin' Flippers, you need to be because you can get your all your dreams will come true.
Oh, well, I mean, speaking that on a another level. So when I was on your show last time, I owned a traveling photography company, and it started going south. And basically, my wife and I just said, okay, well, we're not going to go down with this, and we basically dumped it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for 4 years. It was a very, very lucrative business, and then for the last year, it just wasn't panning out. I was driving for Uber to make money to pay for my bills when I should be at least paying myself something. And it got to a point where, like, this is stupid, and we dumped it. And my wife's like, what are we going to do? And I started driving for Uber and just flipping. And then last month, I decided I'm only going to flip. And that's what I've done for the last, I started doing that about 6 months ago, but now, like, I took away that, like, security of having Uber to be able to, like, drive for like 30 hours if I needed to.
Yeah.
Now I'm just flipping, and it's not just gear, but I just research a bunch, and my wife's very good at research, so she's like, hey, did you see this? Or she'll tag me in something so I can, like, look at it, and just trying to collect all these, like, mental things to look for. But yeah, I mean, I'm now living the dream. I'm working for myself, and I'm only flipping, which is insane, and I'm paying my bills. I'm not rich. I'm not like, buying expensive cars or doing anything silly, but, like, I'm living the dream. I'm home with my kids all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They're a nightmare, but it's freaking awesome. you know. Um and I've talked to a few people. They're like, "That's so scary." I'm like, "Yeah, but, like, what did I have to go to? You know what I mean? I went on a limb and I bought a business, and it tanked. So, like, I didn't have any options. It's like, well, these are my skill set. This is what I'm gonna do. But yeah, speaking on the other part about getting the gear of your dreams, like, it's easy. It honestly is easy. There's people out there. If you are looking for the deals, you'll find, you can start with a metal zone that's $20 and sell it for 40, and then go from there and work your way up. And Co just bought a pedal for $165, and he just flipped it for $375. Like it. And then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna put that towards the guitar I'm gonna buy. He's like getting, like, a custom built guitar or something. So, like, it is possible. And I think it was two years ago, my goal was to flip to a boutique guitar, and I flipped to a Rayburn.
Yeah.
And it was just, buy this pedal lot, sell this pedal lot, buy this guitar, flip this guitar. And not a single penny came out of my pocket. I kept some of the profit and put that away towards the Rayburn, and then I took the rest and put it towards, like, buying the next thing. So the stuff's out there. You just gotta look. You gotta work a little bit. But I mean, there's some people that inspire me too. Will LaHoo, who I talk to quite a bit. He loves the art of a deal and finding something that he can flip and get into something nice. So it's out there.
Well, let me ask you this: since you're doing this like all day, every day, what's the way like you approach this? I mean, are you like flipping through your phone when you get up early in the morning, looking and
Yeah,
seeing.
it's early in the morning, late at night, flipping through my phone, and then also bathroom time. Like, I'll be honest, just flipping through. And then if it gets like kind of like dull and quiet for like whatever reason, I'll just look real quick. But I don't spend a ton of time searching the internet. I'm doing a ton of thrift store shopping. So there's a lot of money in shoes. There's a lot of money in vintage clothes. So I'm doing a lot of that. And then also like with gear, I just kind of know gear, and things pop up. Things pop up on the gear pages all the time that are like, hey, I need some money. I'm gonna sell this stuff, and if I can snatch it up quick at a good price and make a profit, then they'll probably do it. Um, and there's things that'll pop up, and I'm like, that's a good price. But I'm gonna lowball this guy and see what happens, And some people go for it, and some people don't, But it's part of the game, But if I can make a 50% profit on anything, I'll probably buy it.
Yeah. Like what when you're doing like cuz you've talked about this on the show a lot, like your thrift store finds and everything and um what I mean, I'm sure the well gets dry in some places like you go and you frequent and or you start to it starts to kind of like glaze over a little bit. Are you constantly looking for the next thrift store? Are you hitting other towns around you? Like how does that work?
So there's only one thrift store in town here, and I check that place 3 times a week basically because it's literally right around the corner, and I can just like put a kid in a stroller and go down there, or like walk a kid over and like just look around. And my kids are good enough to just like hang out, like they're not going to give me a hard time. And you know what? Like for some reason, this is the only thrift store in town. And it services Utica, New Hartford, and then some surrounding areas. So they just get a ton of donations, and they have a lot of stuff. You have to look through it all the time, and if I can walk out of there and find $100 worth of stuff, I feel like, okay, cool, I've done good. I've gone in there and been like, yep, this is worth $20, and that's all I've found. But I'm not gonna spend money if I don't think I'm gonna make it. But then I also go to Syracuse, and Syracuse has, I would say, 13 or 14 thrift stores out there that I can go to,
Uh
and some are good, some I just I will pass up, but I kind of just make a circle and I go around, and it might take all day, and usually I spend $200-300, but I know I'm going to be making like 12, 13, $1,400, and that happens pretty regularly. The only thing that sucks is there's a waiting game. You might spend that $300 or $400, and then you make back 6 or 7, and you're like, okay, and then you're like, crap, nothing else is selling. What the heck's going on?
yeah.
And then all of a sudden the first of the month hits, and then you sell almost everything you bought. And there's items that linger on, that take a little while. You just got to look at short game, long game, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What are the patterns you notice? Because I mean, you talked about the first of the month start selling, but I mean, are there any intrinsic patterns that you're saying, hey, this is gonna most of the time this is gonna happen?
Yeah, so the last week of the month is a tank month, like, or tank week. Like, I know, like, I'm hoping that I make $400 or $500, like flipping. But with the gear stuff, then I know I can flip a gear item during that time. So I might wait to put my gear stuff on that last week of the month, because I know like somebody will still buy stuff. But like as far as the other stuff, unless it's like collectibles, you can tell it's gonna tank. Like people will wait. I do a lot of shoes, like a ton of shoes right now, and people will wait till the first of the month to buy a pair of shoes. So it's like you kind of see this drop off, and this is like not brags, or I'm not trying to be like weird about it, but I'm roughly doing about $4,000 a month in flips, and I noticed that last week is dismal.
Yeah.
It's like crap. I'm doing $1,500 a week or $1,200 a week, and then all of a sudden that last week is nothing. And it's like, oh, my wife will ask me, has anything sold this week? And I'm like, no. I was like, just wait till Monday. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, are you doing most of this like marketing it through eBay?
Mostly eBay. Yeah, I mean, I do post stuff I don't really want to ship through like Facebook Marketplace, some Craigslist. I don't really do Craigslist that much anymore, but then all gear goes through Reverb, obviously, and then also like on eBay. But yeah, for the most part, just through eBay. That's where my majority of the sales are. And we're doing Poshmark. My wife's been handling the Poshmark account, I don't really like it, but she's been doing it, and we've had a few sales, but we're trying.
Now, what is that? Is that like a?
It's just clothing, and it's like it's weird. It's like a clothing sales site, but based on like social media. So they're trying to make it like social media. So they're like, it's all about sharing and liking, and it's really annoying to me.
I
It's
got you.
really freaking
I got
annoying.
you.
I just want to be able to type in like Nike size 10 and like buy what I want to buy, and then instead it's like liking and sharing, and that stuff shows up the most popular or whatever. It's very strange to me. There's some other sites that we're gonna start trying. Depop is one, which is like a clothing site, and it's mostly like trendy kind of stuff. So name brands and also like vintage wear. So we might try to start doing that. I guess that's pretty popular as well.
Well, to ask this because I've often wondered this because of the way the gear world is, and kind of it's changed over time to where like everybody's getting more educated about the price and what things are worth. Um, to make a living at flipping, is it necessary to get into something that it's like got a bigger market like clothes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a big enough market for gear now. I think there used to be, but I 100% agree with Facebook. Facebook Marketplace has 100% changed the game. Because before, like the people that were scared of eBay because that's the internet and that's a scary place, and scared of doing Craigslist because they're afraid of getting like killed. Those people are now doing Facebook Marketplace because it's easy, and they already have Facebook because like their grandson made them get it, or they're getting it because their child already said, "Mom, you got to get this to sell this crap," and it's easy. Selling on Facebook Marketplace is super easy. You write a title, you say a price, and you can put a small description, and you're done. And it's all right there on your phone. So it's like super super easy. And if you want to know how much something is, you just hop on eBay and see how much it sells for. And that's what people really are listing stuff at. And you see that. You see like the gear community, used to be you'd be able to find this crazy deal for a crazy amp and a crazy like guitar, and it's $500, but it's really worth 2 grand, and you just don't see that very often anymore.
No.
Um, it used to happen all the time. That was the majority of my flips years ago. It'd be like, well, I just picked up this Fender Twin and a 70 Strat, and you're like, cool, that's awesome. I got them for $600, and you're like, that's a crazy deal, and I'm gonna make a ton of money on this. And it's just not really like that anymore.
Yeah. Well, so that's an interesting trend because um I think a lot of musicians are kind of in this lull where um you know I'm sure people they get stuff and it's 2 or 3 years old. They're kind of looking to refresh their sound, and I guess a lot of that stuff holds an intrinsic value where you can sell it and get something else, but it's not like people are making tons of money, and they maybe even losing a little bit of money now to get to the next thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of people. I mean, I think the majority. If you look at the vast majority of people that play, I think they buy new. And then you have a group that like to buy used, and you have a group that likes to flip used stuff to get to like new stuff or better used stuff. And there are people that are like, I used to be a 100% new person, and I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to go out and get a new pedal all the time. So I got into flipping because I was like, I want to try stuff. I want to do this. I want to do that, and I can't do that if I'm paying full price. And really, sometimes you're like, oh, I'll buy this fuzz pedal. It's $150 used. Okay, and then you play it for 6 months, and you're like, yeah, you know what? That's not my sound, and you sell it for $150. You're only out what you paid in like listing fees or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So
So there is this like, yeah, there is this like the person that's willing to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy this new. I know I'm going to lose out, and I'll sell it. I'll be able to get some money out of it and buy the next new thing. And there's definitely those people, because obviously you see them on Reverb. As soon as the brand new pedal comes out, whatever it is, like 2 weeks ago, it was like the new Spaceman pedal. Everybody bought it. And then all of a sudden you saw them all on eBay, and they're, $30, $20 cheaper than the brand new price. But it's like brand new. It's basically brand new in the box.
yeah, yeah. It's wild. I don't know. I kind of wish the market would kind of turn to the way it was there. Like things were hot for a while, and I
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if we'll see those days again in the gear world. But it's obviously
There'll be items that get hot for sure. There'll
yeah,
always be items that get hot, and things trend, like how we talked about offsets are super big still, and then but like all of a sudden in like 5 years, 3 years, it's gonna be strats again,
yeah,
and like certain things will be hot again. It just happens. It's like cyclical.
yeah, yeah. Well, you're talking about the thrift stores and stuff. Have you had any luck with, like, say, pawn shops?
Yeah, and usually it's through Facebook Marketplace. I find like a guitar or something, and they have it marked. They just see. I bought one local here. They put it on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a Squire 51, and they just had they had it up for like 50-60 bucks because it's just a Squire to them. But it just depends. Most like I feel like the ones that are like really good, like you've seen them, the ones that tag everything, they have it all like with a sticker, and they're just like, as soon as it comes in, they look up how much it's worth. They're going to give that person 50% of it, and then they just tag it, and that's what it is. And they already have their idea of what they're trying to get. Where like there's some pawn shops, there's a couple of them downtown here that are just messes. I mean, you just walk in and it's just so dusty and so dingy, and they're just like, what's this worth? And like, I don't know, 40 bucks. Like, they don't care. They know it's probably coming from for going to drugs anyways, and they're probably sure it's stolen, so they're just like, I don't know, $20. And then they hang it on the wall and hope it doesn't, backfire on them. And but it is like weird. But the ones that are like tagging that stuff and like putting like the prices on it right away, those ones I don't think you're ever gonna slip very much by them. But the ones that aren't doing a great job at like being, I guess, running a business well, those are the ones you're gonna find the deals at.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know, like, there for a while, they don't have a lot of there's no music store in the town around where I'm at. Like, you got to go at least 30 minutes away. But there's a lot of pawn shops in the town, that I work in. And I would take, like, during lunch, and I would
Yeah, I remember you talking
yeah,
about
I
that.
would
Like
hit during the
going,
week, and I
yeah,
would
during
just hit
lunch.
one, like,
Yeah.
every day, and just see if there's anything. And a lot of times I wouldn't find anything, but like if you got to know like what they had, because a lot of pawn shops like that, they don't move stuff very fast.
No, they're not moving stuff at all. No, yeah, you're right.
And so if you get to know what they have and get to know those guys, when something new hits, you can sometimes get tipped off. I've had
Yeah.
I've had had you know them contact me, be like, look, I've got this, because they they're probably strapped for cash. It's a bad week or something, and they're trying to sell ticket items, and you know I've had that, a little bit of that. Most of that has not worked out, but um, what I like to find is, I think it was around Nam time last year. There was literally a box of junk at one of these pawn shops, and it was like some microphones, like some cheap microphones, some like a Fender foot switch for an amp, some pick guards. I'm trying to think what else was in there. Just random. And I think I paid like $10 for this thing. And it was kind of like a point that I wanted to prove, like, how much money I could generate out of this box. I'm pretty sure it yielded. It was like around 60, $70, and
Oh yeah,
I
that's
still have
awesome.
that box in my house with a bunch of random stuff I didn't get rid of.
Yeah, yeah, and stuff you put in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and two, the other thing too is like with those pawn shops is gear doesn't move hardly at all, and so things will. I've seen things that have been ticketed like 3-4 years ago, and then like that thing is hot now, and they don't know it, and that'll happen, where you're like, oh, you know what? These Squire vintage modifieds are worth a way more now than what they think it's worth, and they probably didn't think the resale value was going to be good, and they only want $100 or 150, and you're like, yep, jump on that. And I've done that a couple times.
well, and I don't feel bad. Like I will straight up whip out my phone and do the research right there.
Oh, 100%. And I used to feel bad about doing that, especially talking about thrift stores, like standing in there and just looking on your phone. But if you go into any pawn shop or a thrift store now and there's like a few people there, you watch them, they're all on their phone.
Yeah.
And the people that work there do not care. They literally don't. Like I started getting in, I read an article about this guy who only does books. He only does textbooks basically. And he goes in and he uses this like Amazon like search like gun. Basically it hooks up to your app and you just like click it and you're just scanning every single item and it'll go off when one is like a good profit margin and you grab that and put it in your cart basically. And you can do it without the scan gun and I was just kind of like trying it out and this guy came up and he goes, "Hey, do you check this every week?" And I was like, "No." I'm like, "This is my first time." And he goes, he was actually an employee and he's like, "Oh, this is how you do it." He's like, "Just look at this number." He's like, "If you see this date," he goes, that last number." He's like, that's what week we're in." He goes, "We're in week 26." And he's like, "So if it says week 20," he's like, "Everybody's already scanned it. Don't even bother." And I was like, "Holy crap." Like, but they don't care. They just want to move stuff
Yeah.
just like anybody else. They just want sales. But I used to feel like even at a garage sale, I'd be like trying to hide it. And it's like, you know what? They don't care. You know what I mean? They really don't because everybody's doing it anyways.
Right. Well, I can totally see that because, you know, see that's the difference in the world between the gear and just, junk is like the gear world, it's very much this is an item somebody has, they're trying to sell to get something else. And so they're going to be pretty firm in their prices sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
if you get like a junk store, a thrift store, whatever, like the whole game is, I've got 10,000 items here today. If everybody came in and spent $10, that's $100,000 for this lot. And so the whole
Sure.
thing
Right.
is like we need to move, 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 move. Like it can't sit here that long.
Right. Cycle. Yeah. They can't literally, these stores, these thrift stores, especially in this area, they can't sell the stuff fast enough to make room for more stuff. So they really have to like keep it at a low price. Sometimes I get kind of pissy about it because like the prices will be like, "Hey, this is kind of like eBay prices. I'm not going to make any money on this, but I know it, and they know it. And it's like, "Can you do any better on this?" They're like, "Nope, that's the prices." And you're like, you got this for free, right? Like it's so frustrating to me.
Yeah,
But they're like, "Yeah," but for the most part, especially shoes and clothes, like they're just trying to move stuff.
yeah. Well, you had mentioned the looking for concert tees several weeks ago. Like,
Yeah, I've done that a few. I read it. I read this like it wasn't even an article. It was just like a blip in somebody's like they were like a flipper, or I don't remember, a reseller. I think they call them. That's the proper name. And the guy says never pass up a thrift store, and basically said all I do is I walk into the black shirts and I just run through the black t-shirts, and then if I see one I think is gonna sell, I look it up. And this guy basically went in, scanned through the black shirts, picked up a vintage Nine Inch Nails shirt, and sold it for $200 that day. Like somebody offered him, like $200, and he had it up for like three or something. And it's like, it was like a tour shirt for like Nine Inch Nails, and it said like like 92 on it or something crazy. And so I was like, okay, all right. I never find anything in clothes. I'm gonna try this, and I found a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, and I sold that for $100. I found a Slipknot shirt, and I sold that for $60. I sold a Harley Davidson shirt for $75, and it's like, this is crazy. Like I would never spend that much money on anything.
oh
Like
yeah,
at least like a shirt. But yeah, they're there. Yeah, just look through black. Black is the most common color for think concert tees. What color do they come in? Black. You know what I mean? Don't waste your time with the other colors. They're always in black. So just go to black, look through it. You might find a gem.
huh? Well, what else? What else? Thrift store. I mean, going down the line, kind of like, what are you scanning for? Because obviously you can't rummage through everything.
No, you really can't. There's not enough. Shoes are a big one. Shoes that look new, shoes that look not beat up. They're usually $6 to $10, and for name brands, Nikes, Reebok, Saucony, all those brands, you can get those for cheap, and you can flip them on eBay used for $30-$35 every single time. So
Okay.
it's not a huge flip, but if you do a ton of them, and then I've had a few pairs that have sold for hundreds because it's some pair of Jordans that somebody threw out. And my wife cleaned them up super good. You know, so shoes are always big. I always check the jackets because there's always a starter jacket in there, and those starter jackets, those vintage starter jackets, sell for big money, like $60 to $100. And then I basically I usually check all the electronics. Electronics are big. You wouldn't think a VCR would sell for money, but a VCR with a DVD player in it, they sell for a ton of money because old people are stuck in their old ways, and that's what they use. So, and it as long as it works, and it's not hard because you just walk over to the VHS section and just grab a VHS and put it in and see if it works. They have outlets there, so you can see if it works right away, and if it doesn't, you just put it back. I'm trying to think of what else I look at. I always check the jewelry, but there's never really any. I've only found a few items that are like, okay, this is worth money. And then yeah, I always check out toys and games. Toys and games are huge. I've purchased for $4. I bought this was about 6 months ago. I bought it's Heroes Quest. It's like a D&D style game. It was $4 and I sold it for $165. And I know I could have sold it for more if I didn't buy it now, but I just let it run in auction. And I sold it's called Mall Madness. I sold a Mall Madness game from the 80s for $100. The stuff's out there. It's crazy. People are nuts. People that collect stuff are crazy. But then again, I collect gear stuff. I'm also crazy. So,
Well, so the next question I have about that then is, so you've got all this stuff and you're hoping it sells and you're listing it on eBay, but it's obviously taking up a lot of space at your house while you're doing it. How do you manage this?
well, so basically, this is funny. So my basement, we remodeled my basement about a year ago. We remodeled my basement, so we have like a nice extra like living area down there.
Okay.
It has like a kitchen nook, and then it has like like a TV room and like a couch and stuff. It's nice. On the other side, which takes up basically the other half of my basement, is all eBay stuff, and it's basically I took tables and I stacked them on top of each other, like just the folding tables. And then I just like put them in like shelves, like just stack it up. If it's puzzles or it's games or shoes or whatever, I just stack it up, I basically try to make sure I this week I actually made it like a backdrop out of wood. And I just drilled it all to like the studs. And then I just put good lights on it. And that's like my eBay corner for shooting. Every item, basically, I put it in a pile. I take pictures of it, I list it, I put it on the shelf, and I just do that one right after another. Today I listed 65 items. So that gives you an idea how many things I have to list to keep going,
Yeah, that would, to me, is probably would be the least fun part about the whole process.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. If I didn't have to list it all and people would just know that I had this stuff and buy it, would be way better.
Yeah.
But like the hunt is super fun. Taking the pictures is actually super fun. Because I get to do like some of my photography skills from back in the day. Like getting the lights looking right or getting. It took me time to set that up. Even crafting that thing was fun. But like the actual listing and writing, super annoying.
Yeah.
But I've gotten good at it. I can list relatively quick. eBay has like a new system where you find an item of the same one that you like. You do sell one like this, and then it fills out almost everything for you. And then you just change the description to fit yours. So if it says, this one has a hole in the right corner, or this has a scuff on the side, you just put that in and then you're done. You add your photos and you're done. So it's a lot easier than it used to be, because you used to not be able to use your phone 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and you had to like list it with like a camera, so this is better.
Yeah.
We live in an easier time for sure.
Yeah. Well, do you have any hard and fast rules about, hey, this is taking up space, I need to get it out of here? I mean, what's your method there?
No, I'm not like that. I'm not at the point where like, it's like that 90-day rule or anything. I think my biggest tip is do your comps. Comps are easy. You basically look it up on eBay and see what they sell for. If it's questionable, don't buy it. Just don't buy it. You're not out if you don't buy it, Obviously, like I would say I have a basement that's 3/4 full of stuff. It will all sell. Everything will sell on eBay at a certain price. It really will. It's just, did you overpay or did you underpay? You know, and that tells you your profit. So it's like, everything will sell. Eventually, everything I have down there will cycle through and be gone. But, like, yeah, the bigger items are tougher to sell for sure.
Yeah.
I have a huge steamer trunk in my garage. The thing's worth hundreds of dollars. I can't sell it. Nobody wants it locally and I can't ship it. So it's like, okay, now what? I'm like, maybe I'll just be like, free, come get it. I spent $8, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, bigger items are tough. You gotta be careful. But then, sometimes bigger items are good. I sold a Jeep top a couple years ago for good money. Profited about $800. So it's like, okay, there's money to be made in bigger items too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the bigger items take up a lot of space, but I know, like, for instance, like if you could get your hand on like furniture, that's something people are always wanting, whatever, but like it's hard to deal with stuff that takes
Hard,
up
yeah,
space, and you're physically having to move it around. And
yeah. I have people I know that refinish furniture and then sell it, and it's like, yeah, but you can only fit three pieces in here. You know what I mean? Like, sure, like if you could refinish all of them in a weekend, that'd be great. But you know what I mean? Like, let's say you could really do 5 or 10. Can you store 10 pieces? Probably not. That's tough. So that's like a side hustle, and that's okay. Like, this was a side hustle. Now it's a regular hustle.
yeah,
I'm like trying to make it work. But yeah, you got to be careful of big items because they take up a ton of space.
yeah. Well, I think, like, in the music world, like when I'm looking at deals and stuff, like pedals are a whole lot more attractive
Oh yeah,
than
absolutely.
guitars or amps, because you're thinking about shipping. Yeah, it's not gonna be a big ticket item, but it's fast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's real fast. And like, I'm not afraid of guitars, but amps are tough. And there's a local shop in Syracuse that they usually are pretty fair on their trades or cash out. And we are talking about a PV Bandit that I picked up in that 300 episode thing that we did, and basically I picked it up for $40 at a Salvation Army, and I was like, okay, this is worth $150 to $200 on Reverb. I'm gonna go and take it to it's Gorham Brothers in Syracuse, and I took it over there, and I basically traded for guitar parts that were for a what is that? The Sterling, like a Sterling
Uh
guitar.
huh.
They just had the body and the neck, and then I got a Fender, like a Squire Strat. So basically, they looked at that and they said, okay, that's 100 and basically I think they said it was $140 is what they said, and I said perfect. And it was an even trade. So I didn't have to ship the amp, and then I basically sold the guitar in pieces, and I made $180 on the guitar in pieces, and I still have the Squire Strat. So it's like, all right, sweet, I got a free guitar, and I made money on this deal, and I only spent $40. So it's like, there's ways around doing things. If you can find a good like local shop that treats you right on trades, then you're not getting screwed on an amp. Amps are tough, man.
Yeah, I've some of my worst luck has been with amplifiers. I've made some money on amplifiers, but then like I've lost some money on amplifiers.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's ever a thing. I mean, I am way more likely if I saw an amp like at a garage sale or a thrift store or something, which I have, I'm way more likely to be like, yeah, I can keep that. Rather than thinking I can flip it.
Yeah.
There was a guy who had a Kingston amp. It was a twin, like an old Kingston twin, from the '70s, and he wanted $100, and I was like, man, $100? That's not bad. And they were worth like 2 to 3 on eBay and Reverb, but I was like, that'd be nice in my room instead, and I wouldn't have to ship it. And ultimately, I talked myself out of it because I didn't want to ship it.
Yeah. Well, when you're looking at, say, a big ticket item versus a small ticket item, what is the denomination? Say, I've got to make this at this. So if it's like two, three times, four times, five times. Is there
Honestly, everything I look at is 50%. If I can't make a 50% profit, like if I can't come back, basically just doubling my money. If I can't double my money, I don't even care. Whether if it's a $3 item or it's a $20 item, or a $200 item. If I can't like for sure double my money, then it's not even worth it. And it does suck sometimes, like because I bought some like smaller toys or something that I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, I'm gonna double my money, and then I only double my money, and I'm like, oh.
yeah.
But I really do, especially with gear. I'm like, I gotta double my money. And that's okay because that keeps me away from buying like pedals that are like 150 or say that are $100 that I'm like, yeah, this is only gonna sell for 125 or 130. It keeps me kind of like safe from doing that. Where then in 2 weeks when this bass comes up, that's like I bought a 72 bass, a Fender 72 P bass, and it was only $500. If I had bought the pedals that I wanted the week before, I wouldn't have had the money to buy that. And because I basically went, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make the profit on that, so I'm gonna wait. And I saved my money essentially for $2,100 is what I sold that bass for. So it's like, you know what? You gotta really like be careful sometimes because you can get stuck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, are there times when double your money's not enough? You think like it needs to be triple your money or even quadruple?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe with like t-shirts or something. Like I don't want to buy a shirt for $4 and then only make $8.
Yeah,
Like I think with smaller ticket items, I want to buy it for 10 or like I want to buy it for $4 and sell it for 100. Like that's really where I'm looking. Like same, like shoes are a little bit different story because I feel like they sell so quick that if I make 20-30 bucks every time I sell a pair of shoes, I'm happy because I can buy and sell like I would say 25 a week and make good money doing that. But like with shirts or clothes, it's like, okay, I looked at a jacket the other day. It was a Tommy Hilfiger jacket. They wanted $20 for it, and I was like, dang, $20 is a lot of money. And one sold for 40, and I'm like, that's not enough money. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like one sold for 100, but like who guarantees that it's going to sell for 40 or 100? You know what I mean? Like I could have it for at 100 for like 6 months and then sell it for 100. Where if I put it up for 50, somebody offers me 40, I take it. I only made $20. It's like that wasn't worth it. So that's kind of a good example. Is like the smaller ticket items really have to make more, way more than 50%. But then again, like I'm willing as long as I'm not losing money. It's like okay, you know, I have 800 or I have right now 400 items up on eBay. Okay, you know what I mean? Like as long as I'm making money every single time, it's okay.
yeah, yeah. Well, I wonder with a lot of these online platforms, have you seen eBay? Do you have faith that it will kind of stay the way it is, or do you think like,
Yeah, I think so. I think as far as what we have now, I think it will stay. Facebook Marketplace is huge. People are doing a ton of sales on there. eBay is, they've seen their decrease. I think they've seen what they're going to see as far as like losing sales. Reverb honestly was a huge hit to them because they saw all their gear go away, and they actually changed their listing fees or their final selling fees on eBay because of it. It used to be 10%, and now it's 3.25% or whatever. It's the same exact number as Reverb is.
yeah,
And they've changed that because they were like, crap, we got to get our sales back on, and I see those little changes, but I just see people jumping around. I see this, like Macari was big for a while. Now it's Depop. Now it's Poshmark. Now it's back to eBay. Now I just see people jumping around. It's this new site, that new site. I don't think nobody's ever going to take down eBay. Reverb is the closest I've ever seen to doing anything. And I don't think it's going to change. Besides Facebook Marketplace put a big hit on eBay too.
yeah, yeah,
But the platforms are there to make money, for sure. I don't think anything's really going to change. It's just what the values are will change. Obviously, what's popular will change, and obviously, like people knowing what things are worth has changed. So that's why thrift stores have been so much better than buying stuff at garage sales or buying stuff at, antique stores or, off Facebook Marketplace. People know what stuff is worth. They just looked it up. It's not that hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, really cool.
Like, was that?
I said, no, that's really cool. Like, I mean, I think that most people aren't on that level, but I think like if people who are curious about it, it's not for everybody, but who are
No,
curious about
no.
it can use it as a means to whatever they want to do. Like if it's I want vacation money, I want gear money, whatever, like there's an
Sure.
avenue for it for those who, I think some people don't want to do that at all, but like for those who um want to stretch a little bit further, like it's a good thing to do, and most of the time the worst you can do is just make your money back.
Right, absolutely. I have a couple friends, like one is like I would say he thinks what I do is gross, just because it just seems like so much work, but it's not. I'm home all the time, you know what I mean? But to him, it just seems like, oh man, that's overwhelming. That's a ton of work. But he's also come to me and said, okay, like I have a bunch of watches and I kind of want to get some different watches. How do I do this? You know what I mean? And like, so I showed him, now he sells watches on eBay. You know what I mean? Like now he's not going and buying them out. He's just like, I had these watches. I want newer watches. I want some money back for them. Okay, I can do this. And, same thing with cell phones, you get a new cell phone every couple of years. Your old one's still worth money. Well, most people just stick it in a drawer. You can make $200 or $100 back on it and put it towards your next cell phone. Why not?
Yeah.
That's flipping too. Whether if you're making money or not, it's still flipping. The idea is there. It's the same thing as with the gear guy. He has a pedal and he's like, yeah, this pedal's cool, but it doesn't fit my needs. I know I'm not going to make my money back, but I can make $150 instead of $200, and I can get something else. Yeah, I'll do that. And they kind of look at it as like almost like a rental. They rented this pedal for 6 months for $50. That's
Yeah.
not bad. $10 a month. That's not terrible. And then I have friends that have they've decided to become stay-at-home moms, and they're like, I want to be home with my son more. And we're looking to try to have another baby, but we have to make XYZ amount of money a month. Say it's like $1,500 a month. It's not a ton of money. They can do a little bit of the thrift store shopping and make their money that way. And for sure, it's out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Well, not anymore. Not now that I gave all my secrets away.
Yeah, well, I'm really picking your brain hard here. I know.
No, it's all right. It's cool. It's cool. I never really get to talk about it because even on the Flippin Flippers, we talk about gear a ton because that's what we love, and we talk about the flips we have. But it doesn't go in depth, and nobody in that community wants to listen to me sell shoes. You know what I mean? Like it's not super interesting. So it's actually been fun talking about it.
Yeah, well, I never got away from something. I had a friend of mine, and he's a good bit older than me, and so he's further along in life. And he was a banker at one point, and he told me, he said, if you want to really accumulate some wealth, he said you can't put their money in the bank and expect it to earn. He said junk is where it's at. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
And he's like, yeah.
yeah,
He said the rate of return is just so much better. It's like a no brainer. I was like, okay. I mean,
yeah.
and that kind of unlocked a key in my mind. I was like, that's interesting. Like, and literally, this guy deals in pure junk, like stuff that is dusty, stuff I don't want to deal with, and it's all volume for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was talking. One of my friends does stocks. He's into stocks. He's been trying to learn the stock market and make some money. And I said, "Okay, you've been doing this for about a year now. How much money have you made?" He said, "Well, I invested $500, and I've made about 800 back." And I went, "Oh," I'm like, you know what I mean? And I said, I go, I think if you got into flipping and did a little bit of the same amount of research you've done doing that, you could have done that amount of money, in easily in a month, and he's like, yeah, no, I know, but the longer you keep it. And I said, no, I totally understand. I'm just saying the amount of effort you've put in, you easily could do that in a month of what you profited in a year.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And it's true. It is true. I mean, I'm an example of that. I spend a couple $100 maybe a week, and I'm hoping to my goal is to make about $1,500 a week in profit. That's my goal. And that doesn't always happen. And I'm hoping to do that. But I'm also, keep in mind, like, my wife is a stay-at-home mom still, I'm only doing this, that's both our incomes, is me making that kind of money. So it's not a ton of money, but we're doing it, we're surviving and we're paying the bills, and, our kids are eating. So, life is good.
Yeah. Well, one last question, because I'm really curious about this, and maybe you have an answer for it or not. But I know, Christmas time's a big time for retail. Is it more fruitful around the holidays leading up to it?
Huge.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. Now the gear community dies off. The gear flips die because dad is not going to be spending money on a new pedal for himself. He has to spend that money on his kids for Christmas.
Right.
And so this is when, the things that people collect will go, like, board games, puzzles, all the little stuff you'll see sell a ton. You'll get into, sports memorabilia, even like I talked about, starter jackets, all that stuff. The collectibles just fly off the shelf. I'm hoping to see a big influx this year. I don't think I was ready last year for Christmas, and this year I'm hoping to be. And the other thing is toys. Toys are huge. I will pick up. This is one tip I didn't even mention. I should have mentioned before, is anything new in box, pick it up and scan it. Pick it up, scan it in your eBay app. eBay has a thing where you can scan the barcode, and then you can swipe over to see what the comps are for things that have sold. Anything new in package, look it up, because it's usually worth money. From a board game to a book to a whatever, you name it. If it's new in box, it's usually worth something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good. Going back to what my friend was doing, he would look for lots of Christmas stuff, like ornaments and stuff. And some of it's pure junk, but some of it might be like some vintage 1950s something that, like,
so stupid. It's the stupidest thing you'd ever think of, and it's worth a ton of money.
Yeah, that somebody like is out there and I had this as a kid and I have to have it. And I mean, like,
absolutely,
he'll have like, hundreds of these things listed, and maybe like 20 of them like do a good return, but that more than makes up for the rest
20.
Of it. Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. And that's how I feel too. I have another guy that I know who is also a big time flipper, and he we kind of don't step on each other's toes for some reason. I don't know how. It's weird. He just does a ton of garage sales that I don't really do. And he he'll say like, "Oh, I bought all of this stuff last year. Everything here has been paid for. Therefore, like, none of it really matters. And if I make a little bit of money on it, that's great. But, like, I've made a ton of money on all the stuff I've sold. So that little stuff that's left over is not a big deal." And then, but my wife's talking about the Christmas stuff. She sent me a link the other day, or tagged me in something, and it was comps for these, like, knitted, like homemade, like, cross stitch, stockings, like that have, like, the stuff your grandma would make. It have like a cross stitch of like Santa, or a cross stitch of like, a sleigh and like our snowman. That stuff is worth like hundreds. I had no idea. Yeah. I've been searching like crazy for them, because all the Christmas stuff is now coming out. So I'm just like looking through everything. I'm like, where are these? And they're literally the kits that you would get your grandma for Christmas, and she just cross stitched this dumb, like, snowman on it, and they're worth tons of money. It's crazy how much they're worth.
That's wild.
Like, $200-$300 some of these things, and it's like they don't have brands on them. They're all handmade. It's so nuts. It's beyond mind-boggling. So there are items out there that are just like, because my wife, she's so good at researching, and she's like, what are the Christmas items that are worth money? Because there's so much out there, and not a lot of it is worth anything. And then so she just like finds this stuff, and it's crazy.
Yeah, that's I mean, you just never know what you're gonna hit on. I think it's kind of like one of those things, you just gotta be like invested in it.
Totally. And you know what? You start to pick up stuff and you start to realize what's worth money, and you kind of have that as a base of like what to check. But like right now, like I'm checking out a ton of jackets, and I found this like 80s like snowsuit, and for some reason those are just worth like $200 or $300 right now, because the wilder the colors, the crazier the colors, you know, if it's pink, blue, purple with like, I don't know, like an 80s triangle on it, like they're just worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And it's like, why? This is worth like 80 cents to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why is this worth money? But it's just like these rich people have these rich ski parties, and they want like these 80s ski parties, so people are paying dumb money for these things, and I would have had no idea. But my wife sent me a comp and said, "Look for these," and it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's
But
wild.
you know, like you know what, some things, you know, especially if it's a lot of something, you know, you'll find these lots, and you know, you're already talking about how big is too big, you know, and this year I bought a guy's entire model plane collection, like of just like RC plane stuff.
Uh,
Now I knew some of it because my dad did that stuff when I was a kid, but I didn't know very much about it. But I was like, okay, let's say he had it up for $400, and then he lowered it to 300. So I'm like, okay, this guy wants to move this stuff. So I kind of just said, okay, I can see in this one picture there's 13 motors. Okay, let's say each motor is worth $25. I've made all my money back in motors, and the rest is icing on the cake. It might take me a year to sell it all, but let's see what it's worth. And so I offered the guy $200. He said, "Yeah, if you can come get it today, I'll do it for $200." I filled my van like to the brim, front seats, all the seats down, front seat, stuff in my lap, like not joking. I had like a tool chest in my lap as I drove home because I didn't have any more room for stuff.
yeah.
And but I have a few things left over, a few little things left over, but I made $1,700 profit on that. And it's like, it was a long shot. It was a long game. You know what I mean? Like, I knew it would take me a while, but I just sold the stuff individually. I sold two planes that were really big ones for a couple $100 each, and it just went from there, you know? And it's like, you know, I don't know anything about that stuff, but I still was able to pull it off. And it's like, you know, you see this big lot at a good price, look it up, you know, start doing some research. You might find out that it's worth a ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's super super cool, and I hope, I know we really deviated from the gear thing, but I had a lot of fun talking about kind of
Whatever, that
what
stuff's
you're
stupid
doing. Yeah,
anyways.
I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
Listeners, it's not all about gear. No, but it's been really cool, and even I would encourage, if your gear fund is not being funded by other gear, like, find something you're passionate about, and it might be a little good side hustle to fund your other hobbies.
Yeah, I was talking to Jason Fuzzmonger, I think, and he had said, "Man, I can't ever get into flipping gear because it hurts his soul to buy something and let it go."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just too hard because everything is cool, and it is. Everything is cool. Like, yeah, it is rad, and it's like, this is this piece or this is this piece, and it's cool. And like, even playing like a cheap crate amp for like a couple hours, you're like, yeah, remember this was fun, you know what I mean? Like, and but for him, he was like, we were talking about this site I talked about, and they had like repossessed knives from like, the, what is it, I can't think of the name of the airport, the TSAs. They it's all the knives they confiscate. They put them on their own auction site, and he's like, yeah, I could buy this whole box and I could flip this whole thing for 5 times the amount. They had, he's like, yeah, he started naming it. He's like, yeah, they had Betchmade, they had just naming all these knife companies, and it's like, yeah, you're right, you can make money on that. And it's like, just find your niche. It doesn't have to, you don't have to flip gear. Like, if it bothers you, don't flip it.
Yeah.
There's other things out there.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's like everybody has their own niche of what they're willing to do or not do. And it's like, your thing may be the shoes, but like somebody else's thing may be like, I don't know, books or
Yeah.
just something.
Oh yeah, some people
Yeah.
do books. Yeah, there's this couple that we follow in Maine. They literally only do shoes. That's all they do. And they sold it was something like last month they sold $14,000 worth of shoes. It was like, what? Like, that's insane to me. And it's like, okay, maybe I got to work on my shoe game, and I just want a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? That way, I think in this community where I live, I don't think you can only do shoes. I don't think you can only do cool jackets. I don't think you can only do gear. I think you have to do like a smorgasbord of everything
Yeah.
to make it work. And that's fine, but I think you can find your niche to fund your gear fund, or like whatever, if you're into recording stuff or whatever it is, you can definitely find stuff to flip.
Yeah. Super, super cool, man. Well, I've enjoyed having you on as I don't know if
Yeah,
this is the
thanks for
second
having
or
me
third
on,
time,
man.
but it's always good to catch up and check in and
Yeah,
see how things are
definitely.
going. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah, thanks for
hanging out at Naum.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a great time. We'll start posting stuff shortly, and I know you'll repost it about we're gonna try to do a raffle again. I got to see if we can get some people on board. I don't know exactly what charity we'll do it for. We'll decide that very shortly, but there's a ton out there. We're gonna try to do something cool, and yeah, so be on the lookout for that. There's last year there was some cool stuff. There was stuff from you name it. We had stuff from you name the company, they were on it. So it was great, and I'm hoping to do that again. So keep that in your heads, and hopefully you guys will see that, because Clifton will definitely repost it.
Yes, absolutely. So
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was awesome. Great time as
yeah,
always.
thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you later.